views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
And hello and welcome to Open, the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I am Daren, Jaime. Today we'll update you what's happening in and around our borough and New York City. Coming up, we'll learn about symptoms of peripheral artery disease and what possible treatments are available for individuals that are actually suffering from that condition. Then afterwards, we'll talk about a program that's helping students prepare for academic and social success in college. Then a little later on, we'll discuss a program engaging young adults in social change around education and food justice. And then we'll speak on the particular challenges young people are facing when it comes to foster care. We'll give you some more details a little later on in the show. And then finally, we'll learn about a gallery that's honoring healthcare workers who passed through the pandemic. Well, we want you to stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way. Right now, we're officially open. And hello, everyone. I'm Daren Jaime, and you are now watching Open, a live program that brings the Bronx to New York City straight to you. We also want to welcome our viewers to Manhattan Neighborhood Network, or I should say from Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is being broadcast live simultaneously on the MNN channel. Now you can stay connected to us on all of our social media platforms at BronxNet TV. Well, some things have been going on through the past week. We'll take you through it with some Bronx updates. We start with community news. Bronx Borough President Vanessa Gibson and Deputy Borough President Jeanette Peguero announced the coming of the Bronx's own birthing center. This as maternal mortality and morbidity rates are on the rise. Our Bronx reporter Arlene Makoko brings us the story.
Maternal deaths among Black and Latino women are high citywide, sparking concern among these birthing advocates.
In New York City, Black mothers give birth to 20% of all babies, but yet they account for more than 50% of all pregnant-related deaths.
At a press conference, Bronx Borough President Vanessa Gibson and Deputy Borough President Jeanette Peguero, using the latest statistics from the New York City Department of Health, celebrated Maternal Health Week by calling on the agency to enforce record sharing among hospitals and medical facilities. They also want the state to adopt the city's standards for respectable care at birth to uphold the rights of pregnant patients as a way to address the high mortality rates that primarily impact two boroughs.
The Bronx and Brooklyn are the epicenters of maternal mortality and morbidity, severe injuries to our mothers.
This can be seen nationally, as well as 861 deaths were documented by the Centers for Disease Control in 2020 compared to 754 in 2019, with Black women 3 times more likely to die than their white counterparts. In the Bronx, the rates are even higher.
In this year alone, in New York City, in our borough, unacceptable that Black women are 8 times more likely to die during or after childbirth. Every mother has a fundamental right in the Bronx and the city to have high quality, patient-centered care.
While Mayor Adams recently announced plans to fund 33 zip codes citywide, covering neighborhoods in the South and Southwest Bronx, birth worker and activist Myla Flores is going further by introducing a mobile resource and education center called the Womb Bus that will travel to Bronx parks to treat women, all free of cost.
We're going to have a bus that literally pulls up to a few parks that are going to be stationary there once a week, every single week, and we'll have those different various programs.
I've been teaching racial bias classes to Harvard medical students.
Also an activist, founder of Save a Rose Foundation, Bruce McIntyre III, whose story of loss is featured in the documentary film Aftershock, to be released in July on Hulu, is also involved in partnering with legislators to improve outcomes for pregnant women.
I founded the Save a Rose Foundation after losing my life partner, Amber Rose Isaac, due to an emergency C-section that stemmed from medical negligence throughout her entire pregnancy.
He wants to see the number of doulas and midwives increase, an initiative the borough president is also on board with, by urging lawmakers to offer reimbursement rates that are competitive with up to 17 other states that provide the service.
If you look at some of the other major cities, they're reimbursed probably several thousand.
To find out more about doula and midwife services or find locations for the Womb Bus offering free reproductive care and more, go to @BirthingPlaceBX on Instagram or call the office of the Bronx Borough President at 718-590-3500. For BronxNet, this is Arlene Makoko.
And thank you, Arlene. That's all the time we have for our Bronx updates, but we are taking a quick break. Open will return right after this. And welcome back. Approximately 6.5 million people ages 40 and older in the United States have peripheral arterial disease. It's also known as PAD. PAD is a circulatory system condition caused by the gradual buildup of cholesterol plaque in the arteries. PAD can happen in any blood vessel, but it's more common in the legs than in the arms. Recently, we spoke with the Chief Medical Officer at American Endovascular and Amputation Prevention, Dr. Elsie Coe, and we spoke with her about this matter. Let's go to that right now.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. When we talk about 6.5 million people, that is a large population of people. And when we talk about PAD, it's something that so many people may not be so familiar with. How common, how prevalent is this in our community?
Oh, well, it's very prevalent when you really hone in on who has the risk factors. So the people who have diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, are smokers, kidney disease, people with history of stroke or heart attack, they're at very high risk of having PAD. Older age, 50 and older, really. And it's really important for you to get some screening from your doctor if you have some kind of leg pain. If you're walking down the street and you have to stop because you develop pain in your legs and you can't go any further and you have to rest them before you go on, that's one of the first things that we think about.
And when we talk about this here, let's talk about some symptoms, because for many people, they may not be so familiar, but what are the symptoms of PAD?
So there's a range of symptoms from when it's mild to when it can be very severe. So like I said, the earliest sign is what we call claudication, which is pain on walking or doing any kind of exertion in your legs. But if you have more advanced disease, and say you have diabetes and now you have what's called neuropathy or numbness of your feet and ankles, and you can't feel your feet, you might develop a sore on the bottom of your foot that you didn't even know was there. And that because you're walking on it, it just starts opening up bigger and bigger. That's kind of where you see the end stage. Your nails might not be growing normally. The hair growth might be, abnormal. You used to have hair and now you don't have hair there in your foot and your lower leg anymore. Those are signs that you're not getting good oxygen to your feet. And basically it's just a lack of oxygen to your feet. And particularly affects the toes and the feet the most, because it takes that much longer to get down there. And then you might be going to sleep and you can't, you wake up in the middle of the night because your feet and your feet are numb and you can't feel your feet and you have pain. And a lot of times patient might say to us, well, I noticed that I have to get up and dangle my feet at the side of the bed because you want gravity to kind of get the blood to go down. So they might say, I sleep with my legs dangling off the side of the bed, which is abnormal, or I might need to get up and stand up so that I can feel my feet again. That's an abnormal sign too.
Yeah. So the question becomes, what is the trigger point of saying, listen, I really need to come in. I really need to get checked out by a physician?
Well, when you're not able to perform normal activities, that's a big sign that you need to have something done. Certainly, you should be having your physical every year with your physician and telling them and being very mindful and writing notes down before you go see your doctor of things that you want to ask about. Because sometimes you go there and you forget, oh, I should have asked them about my legs. So if you're very mindful, write things down before you go. If you notice that you're not able to do the things that you normally used to do, it's not part of normal aging. You have to be very clear to your physician, because sometimes they try to pry it out of you, but sometimes it's just so much easier for the physician if you told them exactly what's going on and what's been bothering you. You're not able to walk down the street like you used to, and you have to stop. Your friends have to wait for you until you catch yourself going. It's kind of like, right before you have a heart attack, you might have chest pain and you feel like something is going on and it might be your heart and you don't know. It's the same thing with the legs. The same disease that affects us when we get a heart attack or a stroke is the same disease. It's called atherosclerosis of the legs. And it's what we call, it's almost like angina, or if anyone heard of angina, you might call it angina or angina, which is the pain in the chest that's related to not getting enough oxygen in your heart. Same thing happens to your legs.
Yeah. We know that one of the things that happens sometimes as a result of this is amputation. And for the American Endovascular and Amputation Prevention Group, you guys are also considered limb salvage experts. So can you give us a little bit about why you're considered an expert in this field?
So Daren, that's a really, really good question. And sadly, not every doctor is the same. And I think everybody knows that. Like, I like this doctor, I don't like that doctor. Not everyone has the same skill set. What we've discovered, just even, very recently, cutting edge is kind of what we do. We are super specialists. We're not just interventional radiologists and vascular surgeons, but we really hone in on this kind of disease. And what that means is that we are skilled to do things that the community hospitals and even academic centers may not be able to do. And we see their failures. What we do that's different is that we have tools that are so tiny, the tiniest, the skinniest wires, as thin as your hair, that we can wiggle down all the way down from, where we access the artery. We go into the artery, we're basically plumbers of the human body. And we basically thread a little wire along with a tiny straw, like a catheter, down your artery to open up the blood vessels down to the toe level. And a lot of doctors, if you ask them, do you treat blood vessels below the knee? Do you treat the arteries below the knee? And if they say no, then you know that they might not be the right person for you. So we actually go down. I mean, I just came out of the OR today and we were treating blood vessel in somebody who has a big ulcer in their heel and it hasn't been healing. And he's got the tiniest arteries around the foot. And we got the wire to go all the way down almost to the forefoot and around a loop. And we use a 1.5 millimeter balloon, which you can imagine, it's so tiny, but we can see it. And that's what makes the difference.
Yeah. And so we hear a lot of times people are in need of an amputation. But for someone who's out there, that could be, it's emotionally, psychologically, it's a traumatic thing. But talk to us about when somebody is diagnosed with an amputation. Is that final?
I'm so glad you're asking all the right questions. So if you're being told that you need an amputation, I would give us a call, or you have a family member or a friend, because we have been able to save patients from amputation about 80% of the time, which is pretty high. And the rate in the United States is a little bit sad. And you would think that we all have the same kind of level of care across the US. We don't, but, and patients don't know this. They don't understand this. This is why I'm glad we're talking about this. About 2/3 of patients who are told that they need an amputation never even got a chance to see someone like us. Never even got a chance to see an interventional radiologist or vascular surgeon who can do these procedures under X-ray guidance. It's minimally invasive. We're not cutting you open. It's through a tiny little hole. We put a Band-Aid afterwards, we're done. And we're basically doing plumbing work through tiny needles, wires, and catheters that go down to the skinniest of blood vessels and open them up with balloons and little rotors. And we can save 80% of patients from getting amputation. And we've had patients coming from Pennsylvania, all the way up to New Jersey, who found us through a support group, and an elderly woman, her son brought her in. There's a testimonial that you can see on our website, and we saved her from getting her leg cut off.
Yeah. And so in this, what do you consider to be the difference maker? I mean, you shared a little bit about it, but when 80% is a huge number. So when you break that down, what do you find to be the greatest difference maker for you?
So the difference maker is we're able to go down to blood vessels that a lot of other doctors don't. So a lot of doctors like to stay in the thigh and treat those blood vessels because they're bigger, it's easier, you can get the patients in and out. It takes a lot of extra skills, and this hand, like my fingers know how to turn the wire and catheter, and it's the technique of knowing what to do and how to do it when you can't do it. So sometimes I'm even, and I don't want to like scare anyone, but I just want you to know that sometimes we even go put a skinny, tiny wire needle in the foot just so that we can go from below and above and connect from above. And sometimes you can't do everything from the arm or the groin. You have to go into the foot. And the patients really don't feel pain. We actually give them conscious sedation, and they are so, I mean, afterwards they can feel a difference right away. One thing I want to say is that once a patient gets an amputation, what people don't realize is, like you said, psychologically, they're depressed, they're sad, they're now they're debilitated, they're in a wheelchair, they need rehabilitation, they need someone to help them get onto a prosthesis so that they can walk again, and that wound has to heal first, and they start declining very fast. They're not able to exercise, they're not going to eat the way they used to. All of that compounded leads to early death. And I hate to say that, but 50% of patients will pass away in the first year or two.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us, Dr. Elsie. I think it's some very valuable information. Hopefully we get people in early to be able to see you. So thank you so much. We want our viewers to know, if you want more information, what you can do is visit the website, Endovascular.com. Then also follow them on their social media platforms on Facebook at Endovascular. Don't go anywhere. We got more open coming up right after this. And welcome back. College Now is CUNY's largest collaborative program, offering dual enrollment in high school as well as in college. Now, the goal of the program is to help high school students, or I should say students, meet high school graduation requirements and then prepare them for academic and social success in college. Joining me now and sharing more details is Director of College Now program at Bronx Community College, Susana Rivera. And thank you so much for being with us. Yeah, I'm glad to have you. So I want to talk about this for a moment because it is a huge transition for a student to go to high school to college. But I know that you do a good job of really like bridging the gap and making sure that students really are able to deal with the academic and then also the social environment as well.
Yes, well, actually I call College Now preview to college. When I do presentations to students, I say, this will be your preview to college. In College Now, students get to preview college. Classes are taught by faculty from Bronx Community College. It's an after-school program for students where they come to the college to take classes. And there they learn how to socialize with other high school students like themselves participating in the program, but also to the college students and the college community. So it really prepares students for college.
And when you see students come through your door, what do you identify as some of the biggest challenges that they have in making this transition?
Well, oftentimes our students are first generation going to college, and sometimes they don't have that support at home. So when they come to us, they have a lot of questions. Sometimes they don't know, about financial aid. What is financial aid? Sometimes we sit down with them to discuss, what is the difference between a 2-year college or 4-year college, financial aid, and other things that they need to learn in order to survive in college. So oftentimes we just have to sit down with them and just help them understand, how college works. Um, we just teach them how college works, and we answer any questions they may have. We also try to incorporate them to the college community by introducing them to different offices like the writing center, tutoring center, where they can find help. They can get help for if they were to struggle or have difficulties with the classes. We have resources for them at the college, and we introduce them to them, knowing that you're not here alone. We're here to support you, and if you need help, you can always come and talk to us.
When you talk about eligibility, who's eligible when you talk about being able to participate in these great services that you have? What are the requirements for somebody? And tell us who's eligible.
Yes, so eligibility requirement for college now, we usually work with 11th and 12th graders. Those are junior and seniors, high school students. And we look at their regions. Well, students haven't taken the regions for the past 2 years because of the pandemic. But what we look at is their overall high school average. For us at BCC is 75. If they have an overall high school average of 75. And we also look at their English classes. If they have completed their English courses with 75 and higher, and they are junior and seniors, that qualifies them to participate in our college credit courses.
Yeah. And so as the students are participating, talk to us about the atmosphere, because for them, as I said, you're really trying to get yourselves ready for another educational round. And it's not easy. There's got to be a lot of anxiety and things of that nature. How are you preparing students in the area of that? Because that's really huge to make that jump from high school to college. It becomes a whole new world. High school, I know a few of my students, I got a lot of students in class, but then when I get to a campus, there's a difference between a high school and a campus.
Well, this is why I said this is the beauty of college now. They get to preview it. They get an ID, and we do an orientation before classes begin. Pre-pandemic, we would do an orientation and bring the students on campus before classes start. And we would just walk them through all of our campuses, take them to where the class that they sign up for is going to take place. And we introduce them to the library, to the cafeteria. Like I said, all the resources like the computer labs, just in the event that they need the help, they can go there. But also we introduce them to the college environment. Oftentimes we invite other programs. We sometimes invite admissions to come and talk to them, and other resources on campus, so that the students start getting comfortable. And by the time the semester finish, they go for a whole semester to a college campus. And I always tell them, well, people would not know if you're coming from a high school unless you tell them, because when you're here, you're a college student. So, and this is how we introduce them to the college life, and they start getting used to and comfortable coming to college every day, visiting, the campus, mingling with other students like themselves, because the way college now classes work is that we have exclusive cohort for high school students taking college now classes, meaning that they don't take classes with other college students. Only high school students in those classes, but the faculty teaching them are from Bronx Community College. But when they on campus, they are mingling with everyone else, college students and everything. So that's.
Yeah, I want to ask, now that they're in and they're participating, talk to me about performance. What are you seeing in terms of performance and completion rates? Because, as I said, it's a little overwhelming. Some people stick with it, some don't. What are you seeing by way of performance?
Well, we offer actually our students the first year seminar that is offered through college now. We adapted, and this is the freshman course that college students take during the first semester. And we adapted it to our population. So we offer that class to students, and we recommend students to take that class first, because it is an introduction to to college life. So once they take that class, they feel more comfortable and they learn. They learn about the impact a negative grade would have on their GPA. And that's just for them to introduce, so that they could understand this is serious. You have to take this class serious. Um, we do have some withdrawals, sometimes students withdraw, but majority of them, our withdrawal rate is about 15 to 16%, very similar to the college. Students who stay, it shows central office is tracking the data, and we see that students who do college now and go on to college, they do better. And overall, college now classes also help students with their high school performance. So students who do college now, they do better. They do better. And those who take it seriously, they do excellent. And they always come back and thank us, especially when they go to college and they get their classes validated. They don't have to retake those classes. They come back and thank us, saying, "Oh my God, thank you so much. This is great. It was a very positive experience." While they're in the program, sometimes they're not really getting how much they're learning. It's when they get to college when they realize, like, oh, okay. So, oh my God, Miss Rivera, thank you so much. It was so helpful. They feel ahead of the game and they actually find themselves helping others who never got the college not experience while they were in high school.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the thing about this is you get in early, you get an opportunity to see what it's like, and hopefully you're able to make the adjustment. And Susana, I want to thank you. I'm out of time on this segment, but I want to thank you so much for the work that you're doing and helping our youngsters get prepared for that next level right there in college. Thanks much.
thank you so much. My pleasure.
All righty. For more information now, if you want, you can visit their website, bcc.cuny.edu, and then follow them on Instagram and Twitter at bcccuny. We encourage you, don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Open coming up right after this.
We built a media network for you.
BronxNet TV.
Come learn in your new state-of-the-art studios at Lehman College.
At Mercy College.
And coming soon to the South Bronx in the Hub.
Inspire with your stories, culture, history.
Your Bronx on BronxNet.
Engage with us.
Connect with us at your channels and at bronxnet.tv.
Learn, engage, inspire. BronxNet TV.
From the Bronx
to the world.
BronxNet.
And welcome back. Repair the World mobilizes their communities to take action to pursue a just world, igniting a lifelong commitment to service. The organization is deeply committed to helping improve communities by connecting community members to volunteer opportunities that meet local needs. Joining me now to share more details is the program manager at Repair World. We've got Sarah Gladstone with us. And Sarah, thank you for joining us. And I know a great deal of your work deals with volunteering, but it's also not just volunteering. It's really about promoting social change.
Yes, that's so true. Thank you for having me. You said it so well. We are all about inspiring people to get involved in their local communities. We're a national nonprofit, but I and my team work specifically in New York City. We are all about not just trying to meet the needs of our communities and the places where we all live, but also really listening to the fact that there is such a legacy of community organizing in New York City, especially, and really a big part of what makes us different than some other just volunteer organizations is really take the lead of folks who have been doing this work so much longer than we have. We've been in New York since 2014, but obviously New York City is so much older than that. So we really take the lead from our partners to let us know what they would like us to do, how we can get involved, how we can keep supporting. We also always pair our service with learning. So we're really about not just talking about what are the needs in our communities, but why are there needs? How can you get involved more than just today? So it's really about getting involved in a much longer process.
And tell us, because you have young adults that are engaged in this, and I think they're between the ages of 21 to 26, and for them an opportunity to really get in early and find out about how to serve, and you're dealing with some real serious issues that they're serving and dealing with.
Yes, so we have a bunch of different programs in New York City with Repair the World. So the fellowship program, which is a program that I work really closely with, is for, like you said, 21 to 26-year-olds. We have our Service Corps program, which is a shorter commitment. It's a 10 to 12-week program, so more or less semester-based for 18 to 26-year-olds. And we also have teen programming as well as families, so families with their young kids can get involved as well. So we are a Jewish social justice nonprofit, which means that we work with Jewish folks and their communities to do this work together. And what I really love is that Jews and their communities means everybody. So while we come to the work with a Jewish lens, or for a lot of folks, including myself, come to the work with a Jewish experience or Jewish identity, it's so much more than that. It's really about taking that and saying we're all one community, we all live here together, not just we're all one community, but for a lot of folks like myself, we're part of lots of different communities, lots of different identities, and all of the work that we do is extremely intersectional. And what's really amazing is that because we're so local based, we really get to look at the ways that operates in our not just in our city, but in our boroughs and our specific neighborhoods. So a lot of the work that I do is specifically in Crown Heights, which is where our office is based. And a lot of the work that we do is specifically doing bridge building work and really listening to and supporting the Hasidic communities and Afro-Caribbean communities and all the different intersectional identities that are in between and overlapping in Crown Heights as well.
Yeah. So for yourself, talk to me about the impact, because that's what you aim to do. You aim to really teach people how to volunteer, to engage themselves, and to make a difference. And so from your lens, talk to us about what you perceive to be the difference maker in the work that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So currently, we have about 104 different service partners that we work with. We've engaged with over 6,000 participants this year, and we engaging in what we call acts of service and learning. So over 10,000 acts of service and learning for this year. So that looks like showing up to farm days. We work with a bunch of local farms. It includes showing up to volunteer at pantries, park cleanups. We work with local free food fridges. We work with a lot of organizations that take baby supplies, so diapers, pacifiers, baby lotion, all that kinds of things. So all those folks have either donated, they've come to learn, they've shown up with their kids at parks and festivals that we've been at. They've come to volunteer at pantries. So that's just part of the impact. And then for a lot of those 6,000 people and 100 partners or so, it's really about relationship building. It's really about this work is both immediate in the sense that when you do a park cleanup or you volunteer at a pantry, you're helping. There's a very clear impact that you can see right in that moment. And so much of what we do is we won't get to see because it's a long-term process. It's all about relationship building. So building trust with our organizations and individuals, and both having volunteers show up once and keep returning because they enjoy the experience, they're learning, they're making friendships and connections, and really building trust with our partners, both the partners that we're working with and the clients and the communities that they're a part of as well.
Yeah. You talked about partners, you talked about clients. Talk to me about families, because family engagement is huge, and that's also a core staple of what you're doing as well. How does family engagement come into practice for the work that you do?
We have a really amazing both teen and family program manager named Hannah Grossman, who does amazing work across, the different boroughs. Um, what's really awesome about it is that a lot of the work that we do with our, 18 and older population can be not only adapted for a younger audience or with families, but we have a lot of really specific ways that we engage with really young people. So it's also about how do we meet people where they are in this learning and coming to this experience, and that includes kids and families. So for a lot of these kids, this is they might not even realize that they're contributing to this lifelong experience that they'll continue to have. They might just think like, I get to play and I'm learning something. I'm reading a book about social change. I'm learning, what are pronouns? What is service work? Why is this important? How am I a part of this? How am I benefiting from this experience? So it's really about meeting folks where they are, whether they're, 4, 5, 10, 18, or they're, older folks in their 20s and 30s. It's a really unique experience.
Well, Sarah, we want to thank you so much because the work that is really a great experience, but also very impactful. Sarah Gladstone, Program Manager, Repair the World. Thank you for being with us, Sarah, and thank you for the great volunteers that you've got with some boots on the ground. Thanks much.
Thank you so much.
All righty, well, for more information, visit their website at werepair.org. Follow them on social media at Repair the World. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Open coming up right after this. And welcome back. A spike in mental health challenges among children and adolescents led the American Academy of Pediatrics to declare it a national emergency. Young people in child welfare are particularly vulnerable. Up to 80% of children in foster care have significant mental health concerns. JCCA provides services and support for children and families involved in the child welfare system, including programs throughout the Bronx. Joining us now and sharing more details, we are pleased to have the CEO and Executive Director of JCCA, Richter, with us. And Ron, thank you so much for joining us, and a pleasure having you.
Well, it's great to be here, especially talking about this really important topic.
Yeah. So for someone who may not be familiar, we hear the word JCCA. Give us a little bit more insight into JCCA as an organization.
Sure. So JCCA is celebrating its 200th anniversary this year, providing mental health, education, and child welfare services to New Yorkers. We do an enormous amount of work in the Bronx, and we try very hard to support families that have children struggling with mental health issues, and we provide those services at home. So we serve between 16 and 17,000 New York families a year. And we do that by offering mental health supports, including social workers, right there at people's kitchen tables, so that people don't have to go out and about looking for services, but in fact can get those services right there in their homes. And our goal is to really work with families to support their children, not just with typical therapeutic services, but with life skills training for young people and respite for parents, so that families can become stable again once they have real challenges presented to them. And we've been doing this, as I said, again, for 200 years. So we're all about innovation, and we're all about really trying to help families get back on track when they've hit hurdles.
Yeah, mental health challenges are on the rise, and when we talk about our young people, particularly children, we see that number, as I said at the beginning of the segment, to be plateauing upward. or hitting an upward plateau. Talk to me about where you see things at, and what are some of the big challenges that maybe we're not paying attention to?
Sure. So I think one of the biggest question marks, it's an excellent question, is the impact of the pandemic. And we really only know the tip of the iceberg with respect to what all of the social isolation means for kids. And as you know, children like my own 12-year-old spent significant amount of time alone and often on screens. And especially for younger children who are so dependent on socialization, children like 2 and 3 and 4-year-olds were really limited in how much they got to interact with other kids. And now that we're coming out of the pandemic, we really are curious about how much that isolation impacts the way that kids go about getting on with each other and getting on with adults. Because kids were really cloistered. They had only their parents, and some kids only have one parent. And remember, those parents were stressed out also. So the question that you're asking, we really don't have the final answer on. We're learning more, but clearly this mental health crisis among children, especially foster children who were moved around quite a bit and not even seeing their own families during the pandemic, has created a real challenge with respect to mental health. And we are very concerned that schools make available as much as possible screening so that we know what our state of affairs is in terms of our littlest kids and our adolescents.
Yeah, I want to stay on the word challenge, Ron. And when we talk about challenge, I know that young people in the foster care system had a lot to contend with, particularly during COVID. Give us a little bit more insight into young people in the foster care system and how you've seen them be able to navigate.
Yeah, so I will say that one of the silver linings is the advent of telehealth. So the ability to access treatment and therapy through kids' mobile devices. And especially with teenagers, we found that they are often, reluctant to come into an office to get mental health treatment. And as a former lawyer for kids and as the parent of a 12-year-old, I can tell you that kids think that if they have to go see a therapist, they're crazy. And they'll often say to me, "I'm not crazy. I don't need to go see anybody." But often, if you give them the ability to zoom into a group session with other kids like them, they'll realize that nobody thinks they're crazy, but they need an outlet, facilitation with a mental health professional to talk through what's going on in their lives, what it meant to be, to be all alone for a couple of years, trying to learn and grow up as a young person. And so telehealth really helped us get kids talking to one another and to a therapist. And for many teenagers, group work is very important. So encouraging our young people to work in models that make them feel good with their peers. So it's challenging, but if we have the right funding and if we had enough therapists, which are real challenges these days, I think that for foster kids, especially, knowing that there are others like them out there struggling is a real critical piece of solving the problems.
Yeah. You talk about your organization and more than 200 years, right? Here we are looking at the work and the impact that's been done in the community. But we know that you can't do it by yourself. You rely a lot from help from government. Talk to us about where we are right now, because we know the stock market is volatile. We know the economy is questionable. And when it comes to budgets in the city, the state, and the federal, things are being cut right and left. Talk to me about how you're navigating and what's going on there.
So I will say that the biggest challenge right now is hiring workforce that are quality people who really want to commit to helping our most vulnerable young people and families. And while Governor Hochul's budget promises to be better than we've seen in years, the infusion of dollars into mental health is so far behind the amount of money we've put into physical health over the last decades that we have too much catching up to do, frankly. That government has done some improving very recently, but we're competing in a very different work environment. Remember, this is an employees market. And so finding people who, for example, want to work with our young people and families, who want to work with the most challenged young people struggling with really serious issues, compared to those people who want to work with low-level anxiety in the suburbs through telehealth. Well, a lot of people want to work with the easier cases. A lot of people shy away from the most difficult, highest, what we call acuity, highest challenging cases. And so even though there's been a little bit more money put into children's mental health, it really isn't enough. So we need to continue bringing to the attention of everyone in New York and beyond that investing in children's mental health is going to reduce costs later on. If we can help young people and their families now, then you're going to have a lot more school success. You're going to have a lot healthier people in the future, less diabetes, less heart disease, less cancer. This is all you have to do is go Google Adverse Childhood Experience Survey, ACEs, and you will see the proof that science shows invest in healthy children emotionally, and you will have healthy adults.
As a lot of our attention continues to talk about what's happened in Buffalo. You saw what's happened in Texas. You've got 18-year-olds. You've got young men who grow up and do these heinous crimes. A lot of conversation continues to be had about mental health and mental wellness. And it's almost like if you don't get in early, you really are setting the stage for really some possible devastating things in the future.
So, that disconnect has really, we haven't figured it out, right? In other words, how many examples do you need of these young people who are obviously struggling with some very profound inner turmoil that leads, in the case of this kid in Texas, to kill his grandmother before he went on to just torturously kill these beautiful young children. And you're left to wonder, something really bad must have happened to this kid early on in his life for him to have ended up as a murderer, an assassin, frankly, if what is alleged is true. And so it does beg the question, what kind of screenings are we making available? How are we ascertaining for our young people what's going on? Because the fact is mental health is complicated. People don't walk around, with a broken arm or with fever or with other telltale signs of illness when it's emotional or mental health. It is never going to be that easy, right? People need to be screened. People need to have services available in a way that they can easily and confidentially access them. Kids don't want to talk to their parents about what's going on. It's complicated. Right. And we have to get more and more comfortable with being able to self-identify and access services confidentially. And that's why telehealth could be such a great opportunity in schools. And sometimes school might be the touch point, but then kids might want to engage in treatment privately through a telefunction. And of course, parents have to be involved, but getting the kid into some sort of treatment, maybe by self-identification, is a place to start.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
No, it's a larger conversation that we have to have. I'm out of time on this segment, Ron, but thank you for giving us that which we need. And as we look forward to moving and having this conversation, we'll take a look and see where the issue of mental wellness and whether or not the dollars actually follow. We'll continue to follow. But Ron, thank you so much for what you do.
I really appreciate your time. Thank you, sir.
All righty. Now, for more information, you can visit their website at jccany.org and follow them on social media at jccany. We encourage you, don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Open. We return right after this. And we're back. ARTHOUSE.NYC is a digital art gallery and international art collective devoted to all things artistic, colorful, and larger than life in one of the greatest cities in the world. Now, the recent exhibition, the Hero Art Project, portraits honoring healthcare workers who actually have passed away while fighting COVID-19. And joining me now to share more details is the curator and event producer at ARTHOUSE.NYC, Susana Perlman. And Susana, thank you so much for being with us. And when we talk about paying homage to those who actually gave their life serving and really trying to make the city better at its worst time, you decided to put this at the forefront of your work.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having us on. Yeah, I mean, during the pandemic, I think a lot of individuals, especially our event business was, just kind of very, very dormant. And instead of sitting on my couch, I just felt like we needed to do something to add comfort to a lot of these people's lives who were lost and the families they left behind. So we came up with a Hero Art Project to put artists in our community together with these families to create portraits of their loved ones to remember and honor them.
And so as you create this, you've got the families, you've got those artists who are coming together. Talk to me about your artists. When you introduced the idea and said, this is what you want to do, what was the reception like?
It was overwhelmingly positive. Everyone wanted in and everyone wanted to be a part of it because everyone was in the same boat, and to lend their talent and their time to heal, to help heal the world was just incredibly impactful. And it's amazing. I get notes from people who started with us in 2020 who participated, who just said, this is just such a beautiful project. Thank you so much for, letting me know about it and including me. So, and our art community is a wide range. We were as young as 15, as old as 85. So it's definitely everything in between, and literally all over the planet. And what we found is that the medical community sort of mirrored our community in a way because they also were from all over the planet, working in the United States as healthcare workers. So there definitely was a synergy there.
And it had to be a great feeling, particularly for families, to be able to have their loved one honored, to be remembered in a way that will be, you can share that memento of legacy for time to come.
Definitely. And remember, a lot of these families weren't able to have a traditional funeral, which is, very much a part of our healing process and our trajectory is to gather with family members, to have those loved ones and to have that kind of, Skype and Zoom are great, but they do not, they can't compare to having people there in person. And so we felt like this honored their loved one in a very public way. We having it at in venues like at the Big Screen Plaza, or we were in the Ballyhoo boats in Miami. We were on billboards, Lamar advertising out in California and Las Vegas, and then on the Link NYC kiosks all over town. That allowed people to have that honor in a very public space, so they could gather safely and and remember their loved one, because they had given so much to their families, but also to their communities, and sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice this very challenging time that we've been experiencing in the last year. So, you know, it definitely hit like a lot of, you know, things that, as I say, avoid that needed to be filled. So there was something, you know, really wonderful to be a part of that process.
Yeah, you mentioned the places that the Hero Art Project was actually seen, and one of the places, of course, is the iconic New York Life building right downtown Manhattan. For yourself, what does that mean to be able to see this kind of tribute, this kind of legacy? But then, as we said, across NYC, across the United States, with more and more people really paying homage and saying, there were some real great frontline workers who really laid it all out for us.
So yeah, so we partnered with the Brave of Heart Project, which is an initiative for New York Life and E for E, to do an exhibit at the building to, you know, honor the healthcare workers. And the Brave of Heart Fund is a fund that actually is given, that a grant that is given to the family's healthcare workers to cover funeral expenses, to cover, you know, living expenses, because a lot of these people, you know, not only do they lose their loved one, a lot of them, you know, lost their breadwinner. And so, you know, this particular grant was very essential for a lot of these individuals to, you know, kind of, you know, get their lives back on track. So, and I really thank them for bringing us along for the ride, because it just our projects kind of aligned with one another, since they dealt with the same, you know, individuals.
Coming up in the future, how can people be able to see more of the Hero Art Project and the other work that you have at ARTHOUSE.com?
Well, tonight we are
.nyc, I'm sorry.
ARTHOUSE.NYC, just like the website.
I know, right?
So we're at the Big Screen Plaza. That's where we started, which is behind the Kimpton Hotel on 29th and 6th Avenue, West 29th and 6th Avenue. We're right behind the building. And what's really wonderful about this is that for the entire pandemic, the plaza where this screen was closed off to the public. Well, now it's open to the public and people can come and see it. And then the other thing that we're planning for the end of the year is to do an exhibit on the Washington Mall. So fingers crossed. We are, you know, raising funds to make that a reality, and, you know, we hope to. So those are our two big projects, you know, for 2022.
Susannah, thank you so much. I mean, it's a great project.
Thank you.
I hope that we can see you on the Washington Mall. Certainly, we've already saw you downtown. Want to see more of it. And thank you for thinking about those who actually paid the ultimate sacrifice, who really took care of us in our time of uncertainty. And now you're doing that and giving back. Thank you so much.
And thank you for having us on. I really do appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
Yes.
All right, we want our viewers to know now, if you want more information, go ahead and visit the website at arthouse.nyc. Don't do .com, do .nyc. Follow them on social media at arthouse.nyc. And of course, we want to let you know that we have come to the end of our show today. We want to thank all of our guests for joining us, and most of all, you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, of course, you can catch the Recablecast on Optimum's Channel 67. If you have Verizon Files, that would be Channel 2133, or anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. And if you want a brand new episode of Open, well, come on back on Friday. My girl, Rena Valentine, she'll bring you the best of arts and entertainment. That about wraps it up for us here on the set of Open. I am Daren Jaime. Make sure to keep this channel wide open. We're saying take care. God bless. We'll see you soon.